All right. Fahrenheit 451 or 451, however you want to say it, by Ray Bradbury. So hopefully you're enjoying the first part of the book, first part of the first part, I guess I should say, the Hearth and the Salamander. Um, I'd like to take a few minutes of your time today to kind of go over some of the central themes, some of the central characters, and just kind of talk about what you've read so far. So let's look at the central characters first. We have Guy Montag, who is a fireman. Not a firefighter, he's a fireman, and he loves his job. Um, let's see, there's Clarice McClellan. She's a 17-year-old neighbor who apparently thinks too much for this society. Mildred Montag, guy's wife. Some guy's wife, wife of a guy, right? Never mind. And then Captain Beatty. He is the fire captain. Apparently, when this film was made, I think it was made in the 60s or 70s. Apparently, they thought everyone was going to look like a dork in the future. I think, wow, they captured that pretty well then. All right, and we can't forget the mechanical hound. um, I don't think he actually looked like this. I think he looked maybe more something like this. But that was a funny picture. I thought I'd show it. This, I mean, of course, he looks more like a monster. But it was described as having, 8 legs. Wow, that just went away really quickly. I guess I won't touch the mouse pad. There we go. So, yeah, we learn about the mechanical hound. He is a central symbol in the book. We'll talk about him later on, but yeah, he kind of looks scary if you want to envision him like that, or you can envision him like that. I mean, that's one interpretation, right? Let's move on. All right, so the Hearth and the Salamander, that's the name of this first part of the book. So I just wanted to ask a few questions. What is a hearth? What is a salamander? And what do they symbolize, or what do they mean? I mean, why would he title the first part of this book The Hearth and the Salamander? The Hearth and Salamander, this entire part, it kind of focuses on Montag's job as a fireman and also his home life, kind of giving you an in-depth look, or at least a glimpse. I guess not an in-depth look because we can't see him on a day-to-day basis every single day, but it gives us a glimpse as to what his job is like and what his home life is like. So what is the Hearth and Salamander? What does that mean? Well, a hearth, is a fireplace, another name for a fireplace, and it's the traditional symbol of the home, right? I mean, you see a fireplace and you think, oh, that's in somebody's home, or it's nice and cozy. Oh, there's these two people rubbing his leg, and he's kind of liking that. Oh, that's great. Hopefully, they don't have any books on their bookcases. Hopefully, otherwise, their whole house might get burned down. So then we have a salamander. Ooh, isn't that pretty? By pretty, I mean, oh my gosh, that's disgusting. The salamander they use as one of the official symbols of the firemen in the book. Both of these symbols, they have to do with fire. Now, the hearth is pretty obvious because, it contains the fire that heats a home. The salamander, ancient beliefs say that, salamanders, they live in the fire and they're unaffected by the flames. So, kind of symbolic of the firemen, right? Kind of makes more sense. So the hearth and the salamander, remember I said this part of the book focuses on Montag's job as a fireman and also his home life. So we have the hearth symbolizing his home and the salamander symbolizing his work. All right, so let's just jump right into it. So like I said, Montag, he loves his job. He enjoys burning books. He takes great pride in it. In the beginning, we find that it largely defines who he is. But then all of a sudden, he's walking home, and he runs into this Clarice girl, it's his new neighbor. She comes along, and she's extremely inquisitive and thoughtful, and completely irritates Montag, at least at first. He feels this way kind of in part because all of a sudden this 17-year-old girl is kind of challenging his most deeply ingrained beliefs with her little innocent questioning. Of course, she didn't say, necessarily all of this, and he probably wasn't thinking that, but In the beginning, Montag, he loved his job and he was kind of okay with life, at least so he thought. And this girl comes along and she starts asking him, these questions, and then she asks him, you know, one of the questions is, are you happy? Um, in a way, she kind of removes the mask of happiness from Montag, and she kind of makes him confront the deeper reality of what's going on, of his situation, of life in general. And then he kind of shows his discomfort. You kind of, as you're reading it, you see his discomfort come out by the way that he kind of involuntarily bursts with his spiteful laughter, like like he's you're ridiculous. You're I can't believe you, 17-year-old girl. Anyway, so it's a discomfort that he's feeling, and it shows that through his spiteful laughter. And even though he may feel that initial repulsion to her, even though he thinks, what are you? Who is this naive little girl? She doesn't know anything. Um, he inevitably becomes kind of connected and fascinated by her inquisitive nature and her kind of individuality. That's not common at all in this society, even though it is America. It's in the future where free thinking has been kind of abandoned. So then Montag, he's going home and he's kind of poring over what just occurred, his encounter with this young girl, and he kind of realized, or he pores over the idea that perhaps he was never really happy at all, and that it was more of a pretense of happiness rather than true happiness. And so it just made me think, have you ever met anyone who appears to be having a pretty fun life? They're probably living it up with tons of activities and friends, and they seem super happy. But then what might happen to that person if all of a sudden their weekend parties or their favorite TV shows or their numerous activities were canceled for a while? What would happen if they were forced to slow down and think about their lives for a moment? What would happen if all their distractions were gone and they were only left with themselves? I think of movie stars or anybody in the media, kind of who's one of those pop icons. We glamorize and idolize them, put them on a pedestal as examples of having the ideal existence. And yet, how many times have you ever heard of stars having drug problems, or overdosing on drugs, committing suicide? Or we find out later in life they confess that they were really depressed during these kind of moments when they were had the most fame. So then it makes me ask the question: how does anyone attain true happiness? Is it our circumstances that make us happy? Is it those attending the parties or attending the old the dances or the favorite TV shows that we have on a nightly basis? The numerous activities that we do, is that what makes us happy? Is it money that makes us happy? Having all the things that we need at our fingertips? Or is true happiness only attained from within? It's a question that a lot of people ask, they wonder, and some people don't wonder it at all, and some people try not to think of it, kind of like Mildred. Wow. Getting that new blood sure hit the spot. Yeah, rejuvenation, reliving after she almost overdosed. So after his encounter with Clarice, Montag's at home, and then he finds his wife with the seashells in her ears. So the seashells, kind of like an iPod, anyone, right? Montag realizes she's overdosed on sleeping pills, and once again, like sleeping pills, she's trying to shut her mind off from thinking. She needs that help to put her to sleep. She can't rest. Her mind just keeps going, so she needs to just kind of shut it off. Kind of is that idea, one of those themes of living but not living, and the distractions, with the seashells, and they're surrounded by the walls of television, so she's just consumed with distractions to try and prevent her from actually thinking about or facing herself. So the next day, after when the morning comes, she's overdosed. Mildred remembers nothing of what happened, and then she denies it when Montag kind of brings it up. She then changes the subject immediately and insists on explaining the plot of one of the TV shows about her quote-unquote family, the family to one of the parlor programs that she watches. Um, Once again, these are more distractions. She's just trying to kind of change the subject. She doesn't want to think. She doesn't want to face herself. So let me go back for a moment and look at that comment that Montag makes when he first finds her lying in bed. It says, let's see, it says here, when he first described the room, he said it was not empty, but then he says it was indeed empty. So because even though Mildred was physically there, her thoughts and feelings were elsewhere. This Ray Bradbury, he does this throughout the novel. He uses kind of these paradoxical phrases, and paradox means it's kind of seemingly contradictive or conflicting statements, but in reality they are perfect descriptions of what's going on. So he may describe a character as being dead and alive, or there and not there at once, and he uses similar paradoxes with like the snake that pumped Mildred's stomach the night before, and the mechanical hound. Let's see. All right. So Mildred, she's going on and on after his wife. She starts rambling on about the wall TV characters, and Montag, being uninterested, he leaves to go to work. And upon leaving, he meets Clarice outside, and she mentions that she has to go to a psychiatrist. Now that's interesting because we just met her before, and she seemed really happy, really independent, but she has to go to the psychiatrist because in a society where reading and driving slowly, taking your time, strolling, walking outside for any length of time, whether outlawed or having a candid conversation is rare and suspicious. Clarice's character, her love of nature and people and having intellectual conversations with her family, it's very peculiar. And so she has to be sent to a psychiatrist to talk about these things because they think she's really strange. She thinks it's strange, or they think it's strange, like at school. We learn later on, or we learn right now, that the fact that she doesn't know about the newest TV shows or the newest goings on of the society, that's just strange to everyone, and they think she's unusual. They think she's something's wrong with her and not society, heaven forbid. So that's kind of portrayed here. Now, finally, when Montag finally makes it to work, the mechanical hound, he comes up to it, and once again, the mechanical hound, here's that paradoxical theme again, living but not living. It's kind of like it's like Mildred and the snake-like stomach pump. The hound is simultaneously like and not like a living thing. So anyway, so at the possibility, sorry. So then we have Montag, and he goes and he approaches the hound, and it tries to, in a way, kind of bite him or attack him. And this is the first glimpse where we get that maybe this is a foreshadowing event where maybe there might be an enemy at the fire station. The fact that somebody could have perhaps reset or altered the mechanical hound sensors to react hostilely to Montag, that's foreshadows that there's something of brewing, and it's not so good for Montag. So then Montag, he goes and he talks to Captain Beatty about it, and he doesn't know anything about it. But then he starts. This is where I think the first time in his life he starts feeling disconnected or alienated from his fellow firemen, because he begins to question things that no other fireman has before or should consider, such as he asked them, why the alarms only go off at night, and then he asks, is it because fire looks prettier at night? And if you think about it, in a society that's so consumed with superficial aesthetics, where they just care so much about the exterior of things and how things look, this notion makes kind of a lot of sense, that they would only have the alarms go off at night because fires look so much nicer at night. He then asks them about the history of firemen and whether they once put out fires rather than start them. This was kind of placed and planted in his mind by Clarice. She asked she mentioned it, that was the fact. And so when he brings it up, did this happen? Well, his firefighter men, fellow, anyway, they're his comrades, whatever, his fellow firemen, um, they kind of give him a reference of Benjamin Franklin being the first fireman, and that he burned British books. Now I looked this up to see whether or not it was completely accurate, because we know that Benjamin Franklin, I mean, he's the one who really was a proponent of libraries. He loved books. He started libraries in Philadelphia and things. And so I wanted to look this up because it sounded credible. I mean, the fact that America was going through a revolution, that maybe he burned English or British books, or with ideas, kind of promoting British ideals and things. That could happen. But I looked it up, and there was no substantial information that showed that this was true. In fact, some people said, it's false. Other people took that quote from Ray Bradbury and held it as gospel truth. So, as far as I can tell, that's not true. But history has kind of, in a way, been rewritten by these men. History is always being written, but not these men, sorry. This society that holds men like these, they've rewritten history, changed it, and added false information in it. So that's where we're at, and then all of a sudden an alarm goes off, and that's where you should have stopped. Although if you read on, that's completely fine, but that's where we're stopping today. So your assignment, I didn't put the ending page number there, and actually I need to. I will send you the page number, though, in Blackboard. It should be posted up. I apologize for that. I don't have a copy of the book with me right now. But start where you left off. More than likely, you'll read till the end of The Hearth and the Salamander. In fact, yes, do that. I just don't know the page number. And then you'll complete the fallacious history assignment, or fallacious story assignment. And I'll post the requirements of that on Blackboard as well. They should be up. And then I want you to go into the discussion board and go into the Hearth and the Salamander discussion forum and answer all the questions that are posted in there, and kind of read other people's responses too, to these. So try to write one paragraph per question if you can. Really give your thoughts. I don't want like one sentence answers. I want you to really share your opinion and answer the discussion questions completely. So if you have any questions at all about any of this, please email me or give me a call, and we will see you next week.